You ever had one of those days where you just want a little peace and quiet, and instead you get a war on your own front porch? Because I swear, if you told me a bunch of HOA goons would one day break down my door, screaming about violations, I'd have laughed then, maybe asked what they were smoking. But that's exactly how it happened. There I was, Saturday afternoon, hands greasy from working on my old Harley, when the sound of splintering wood and men yelling, "Big mistake," turned my home into a crime scene. And let me tell you that he had no idea what kind of storm they just unleashed. Because if you push the wrong Marine, sometimes you get 30 more rolling in behind him, and we don't show up for tea and cookies. So let me back up a second. Me name's Jack Harmon, and after 25 years as a Marine Corps mechanic, 3 tours in Iraq and 1 in Afghanistan, I was just looking for somewhere to rest my bones, maybe fix up some bikes, catch a sunset, enjoy the kind of quiet you only earn after seeing too much of the world at its worst. Oakwood Estates looked about perfect on paper. A little pricey. Sure, the HOA fees alone could make you choke on your coffee, but they promise security, nice roads, friendly neighbors, all that good stuff. For 3 years, I kept my head down, kept my Harley shining in the garage, even showed up for a few barbecues, and nobody gave me trouble. The old HOA president, Richard, he was one of the good ones, understood that you don't mess with a man's home unless you want trouble. Then came Marcus Donnelly, with a handshake like a used car salesman and ambitions bigger than his brain. Next thing I know, there's a 32-page community standards manual in my mailbox telling me what color to paint my shutters and how many wind chimes I'm allowed to own. Marcus strutted around like a tin pot dictator, rolling up in his big SUV with 4 rent-a-cops dressed in black vests, making a show of patrolling the neighborhood. They started snapping pictures of every tricycle left in a driveway, every grass blade out of line. Most folks just kept their heads down. When Richard suddenly sold his place and left town, he pulled me aside and said, "Watch yourself, Jack. Marcus doesn't like men who won't fall in line." Well, turns out I'm not very good at falling in line. First it was my trash cans left out too long. Then a little oil on the driveway for my bike. Then get the ISME American flag hanging in the garage, not regulation. Marcus said it clashed with the aesthetic. I'd seen friends die under that flag. No way in hell was I taking it down because some HOA Napoleon decided he was king. The fines kept coming, first $75, then $150, then $300, each letter nastier than the last. But here's the thing about bullies, they only win if you roll over. I ignored the fines, kept that flag flying, and decided to face Marcus at the next HOA meeting. I told him flat out, that flag stayed up while I was getting shot at overseas. It's not coming down for you. He smirked and said, "Rules are rules, Mr. Harmon. No one's above them, not even veterans." And let me tell you, the way he spit out that word veterancy, you'd think it was a disease. On my way out, this little old lady, Mrs. Henderson, grabs my arm and whispers, "They're after me too. My husband's memorial garden, they say it violates landscaping codes." That was my wake-up call. This wasn't just about methy. We're targeting anyone they thought wouldn't fight back. The Ramirez family, fined for a basketball hoop. Sarah Johnson, a single mom, threatened for leaving her porch light on so she wouldn't come home in the dark. I started documenting everything, Marine-style livery letter, every picture, every run-in. Marcus must have caught on, because soon enough I got a letter threatening legal action if I didn't tear down my security cameras. One weekend, my buddy Mike from the Iron Veterans came by to help with the Harley. We hadn't even started it up before one of Marcus' goons was out there, snapping photos, accusing us of a noise violation. Later that night, another fine appeared, $500 for unauthorized mechanical work, time-stamped before Mike even showed up. At that point, I knew this was personal. Things got even more intense. Cars parking outside my house, security consultants prowling around, men asking my neighbors about my business. One day, Marcus himself walks up to me at the mailbox, all smug. "Life's easier if you play by the rules." I told him, "I'm not breaking any rules, and harassment isn't in your bylaws." He sneered, "You military types think you're special. In my community, you follow the rules or pay the price." I said, "It's not your community." He just laughed and walked away. That night, my cameras caught his boys slipping a GPS tracker under my mailbox. These clowns weren't just watching my house, they wanted to know everywhere I went. And then, Saturday afternoon, the bang on the door, two men in tactical vests marked HOA, Marcus and his sidekick Trevor, a failed mall cop with a chip on his shoulder. They barged in waving a piece of paper, claiming emergency inspection rights under some nonsense bylaw. Smashed my door, threatened me with a taser, started tearing through my garage, taking pictures of my tools, my bike, and of course me flag. Trevor yanked it off the wall like it was a rag. Something snapped inside me, but Marcus stepped in, grinning. Interfering could mean more penalties. Or police. They put violation stickers on half my garage. Then Trevor knocked over a photo of my old unit, shattered glass everywhere. "You'll be billed for cleanup," Marcus said, like it was nothing. Then they handed me a bill for $4,500 in fines and inspection fees, told me I had 72 hours to pay, or they'd slap a lien on my home. And as they left, Trevor turned and said, "Rules are rules, tough guy." That's when I called Mike, our club president, a former JAG attorney who doesn't play games. "Mike, they just broke into my house," I told him, and his voice went from friendly to deadly calm. Within the hour, 5 iron veterans rolled up, and when they saw the door, I could see their fists clench. Rodriguez, our former Marine MP, ran his fingers over the broken frame. Dawson, our SWAT guy, checked my security cams. Mike looked over the so-called inspection papers. "They can't do this, Jack," he said. "This is breaking and entering felony territory." They started working, photographing the damage, securing the house, reaching out to neighbors. Wilson, our oldest member, pulled me aside and said, "If they're doing this to you, imagine what they're doing to folks who can't fight back." That hit home. We spent the next few days like a recon team. Mike pulled the real HOA bylaws from county record. Turns out Marcus had been handing out a fake set. Rodriguez and Dawson filed police reports. We set up a private email, started reaching out to neighbors. Stories flooded in. Mrs. Henderson, 83, fined $2,000 for a garden they destroyed while she was at a doctor's appointment. The Ramirezes, threatened with health inspectors over their son's Eagle Scout project. Sarah Johnson's daughter, home alone, terrified by men inspecting their garage. It was a pattern: intimidation, threats, and fines. We followed the money and found most of it wasn't even spent on the neighborhood, almost $90,000 in fines, barely $9,000 spent on actual maintenance. The rest? Shell companies, all linked to Marcus or his family. 3 homes foreclosed, all bought at auction by those same companies. Classic shakedown. But here's where it gets good: a twist even I didn't see coming. Trevor, Marcus's head of security, turned out to have a record for impersonating cops and wasn't even licensed to carry a taser. The security team? Just a bunch of bullies in fake uniforms. The more we dug, the more it stunk: forced entries, fake violations, threatening elderly folks into selling their homes cheap, then flipping them for a profit. And the kicker? Marcus was running for city council, bragging about his success at managing Oakwood Estates. He was building a political career on the backs of scared old ladies and single moms. We gathered all our evidence: photos, videos, financial records, sworn statements, and knew we had to go public. The next HOA meeting was coming up, and this time, we weren't showing up quietly. Saturday morning, the Iron Veterans rolled in 27 bikes, flags flying. Every neighbor who'd ever been harassed was there. When Marcus saw us, he went pale as a ghost. He tried to call the meeting to order, tried to kick us out, but Mike stepped forward, quoting the real bylaws: guests of homeowners are allowed. The clubhouse was packed. One by one, neighbors stood up and told their stories. Mrs. Henderson, hands shaking but voice steady, told how they tore up her roses. Sarah Johnson explained how her daughter had nightmares. The room got quieter, then angrier. Marcus tried to squirm, blaming misunderstandings. Mike projected the financial records on the wall: $87,000 in fines, less than $9,000 spent on the community. Then came the shell companies, the proof of stolen homes. The room erupted. There was a motion from the floor: immediate suspension of Marcus and his goons, creation of a new oversight committee. That was it. Game over. Within days, Marcus resigned. hoping to dodge the district attorney. Trevor got hauled off on old warrants. The security team vanished. The HOA board was replaced, new rules voted in. Volunteers replanted Mrs. Henderson's garden, and I lost count of how many flags went up that we call up and down the street, as if the whole neighborhood was saying, not on our watch. And you know what? That's what real community looks like. Standing up for the people who can't stand up for themselves, pushing back when the bad guys think nobody's watching. My flag flies higher than ever, and every time I see it waving out there, I remember what Wilson said: the enemy gets a vote, but they don't get the last word. Not in my neighborhood. So what do you think? Really, was I right to fight back? Or should I have just paid the fines and kept my head down? When is it okay to take a stand? And when does community cross the line into control? Drop your thoughts below. I want to know where you stand on justice, on community, on what it really means to have each other's backs.